Peace and love, everybody, and welcome back to the Sunday Hope and Healing session, where every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we're here sharing with you that which can be of support to you in your life journey, that which can bring you some encouragement, share some insights. We often do actual healing through a methodology referred to as transcending the matrix, which is a holistic based approach to healing that addresses each and every aspect of a person's beingness. And overall, we just are about the business of sowing love and light into the planet, about bringing things to your awareness that you can utilize as tools to be empowered and to uh, have the best version of your life as we endeavor to enter into the sustainable state of supreme satisfaction. Now, on today, we actually have somebody who will be with us. We're blessed to have her with us today. This person is to me a phenomenal human being. She, as someone that I had the pleasure of stumbling into her place of business 20 something years ago, that it really got my attention because the sign on the marquee, which led me uh, to her specific place of business, said the healing power of touch, and that got my attention. It was actually a massage therapy place. It that was in Southfield, Michigan at the time, and I went, and that was where I met our guest who will have on. This person is not only a very, very uh, gifted myomassologist, very well trained, but is a person who really has a heart for humanity, who has a gift for service, who has um, just done a plethora of things for the betterment of the community. She has been in service and committed to service no matter what her own individual life has looked like. She's always been about the business of doing things to make life better for others, and has authored a plethora of books, six, in fact, I believe it is, dealing with topics related to healing and health and wellness. She's a gifted public speaker and holds significant leadership position within Toastmasters. Just very all around gifted, intelligent, anointed human being. I'd like to introduce you all to Versandra Kennebrew. And Versandra, welcome to the space today.
Thank you so much, Royce. You always introduce me in such a way that I am wondering who could he possibly be talking about. But I do hear some things that are familiar. So thank you so much for having me on your show. I love
Mm,
watching and learning from you on a regular basis.
yeah, yeah. So Versandra, a lot of you've been on here before, actually.
Mhm.
Um, And actually, I believe the time that you were on before, there were a lot of people who really resonated. I know, in fact, there were a lot of people who really resonated with what you said. Um, you are a person who has gifted hands, right? You have gifted hands uh, that you've utilized for the well-being of other people, and you've taught other people to utilize the gift of touch. Can you share just a little bit about your journey as a healer, as a touch therapist, um, as an inspirer in the community?
I absolutely can. And writing this book has been so beneficial to me because, to write it, you have to think it. And so you
Mhm.
really sometimes have to go into even some dark places when you're talking about bringing light that's going to benefit others. You have to shine a light on some dark places that may have been in your own life. And
Mm,
as I was writing this book, I was thinking about, many people ask me, why did you even get into massage therapy?
mm,
And I have to go back. I always say that it was my grandmother. I began to have these visions during a period of time in my life. I believe I was 39, just about to go into 40. And I was at a point where I had ended one career. I'd been in retail for 20 plus years. And I was there trying to figure out what's next for me. I was on this spiritual journey and I kept asking, why am I here? What am I to do? I began to have these dreams, visions. Something was happening, bringing me back to my grandmother who raised me,
mm,
Nina Bell Hunter. That
mm,
woman, she was a missionary and she was committed and she taught me to be a missionary as well. So I guess that's how I got into service and doing that. No matter what I do, it's a part of my life, is because she taught me that way. We would go to the hospitals, we would sing to people, the sick and shut in, we would pray with them. I didn't know anything about massage therapy at that time, but that's what I knew. And I knew that we were supposed to help people who needed help, especially those who did not have the support that was needed to make them well.
mm,
Now, fast forward, I'm having those dreams, but as I was writing the book, it was coming to me something that I never shared with anyone. And that was the fact that my experience with touch prior to that had not been a very good experience. In fact,
mm,
I wrote a little bit about the fact that during my grandmother's time, she raised me, corporal punishment was the norm. I mean, it
mm,
was nothing to pull a switch from the tree and beat your child.
mm,
That was a sign of love for my grandmother. That was her way, as she would share it with me. I'm going to do this because if I don't, the world's going to do it to you and it's
mm,
going to be
mm.
different. So I
Right.
want you to understand right from wrong. And so this is why I beat you. I'm just
Mm,
being real.
right.
Everybody else is maybe not had that experience, but it was mine. But
Mm,
I didn't realize until I was writing this book that that played a role in me understanding and just latching on to the idea of healthy, nurturing, loving touch.
yeah.
And that heals the negative touch that you may have experienced in your life that may be keeping you from sharing love with someone else or being intimate with someone else, because the lingering effects of the negative touch. And so I began to really think about that and think about why so many people are disconnected, why so many people are having problems with intimacy. And
Mm,
to the point, they would come to my massage table sometimes and lie there and cry as a
mm,
result of feeling this nurturing, loving touch. And they hadn't
mm,
felt it for some time, and it brought out these deep emotions. And so that is why I got into massage therapy. And
mm,
then, of course, I learned more about the physiological benefits. I learned about the emotional and psychological benefits. I learned about the ability to reduce stress and build immunity. So
mm,
much is underlaying in this whole idea of touching and connecting with another human being. So
mm.
that's kind of why and how I got into it. And then it continues on, because the more you learn, the more you experience. For me, the more I wanted to share what I learned with others.
Yeah, I hear you, Versandra. And I remember this was something that you started doing some years back,
Mhm.
where you were on this campaign to like eliminate the world of touch deprivation. Like there's
Yeah.
studies have shown about how um, there's been a negative impact on babies who
Mhm.
who weren't shown physical affection and stuff. And
Mhm.
um, like there's so much connected with the power of touch and how touch can be so healing. And I'm really glad that you said what you said, shared about your own personal experience, that
Mhm.
touch for you wasn't always a positive experience
Mhm.
because it came in the form of aggressive touch, painful touch. You know, there are other people who've had negative experiences with being touched, you know,
Mhm.
and that could come up in a variety of different ways. I was
Mhm.
thinking about Dr. Gary Chapman, who
Yeah.
wrote about the five love languages, and one of
Yes.
them is like physical affection, right?
Yes.
And one of the things that was standing out, even as you were sharing, was he talked about like how different people have different love languages, but what he
Mhm.
also said is essentially when your love language is used against you,
Mm.
you know how damaging that can be, right?
Mhm.
Right. And so you had mentioned about how a lot of people that you have had interactions with over the years, perhaps as massage clients, perhaps as people that you've coached, because I know you do
Right.
um, a lot of coaching
Yeah.
with optimal living, education retreats, or so. I feel like I'm
Yes. That's
okay.
it.
Yeah. That you've done, you know, not only therapy in terms of touch therapy.
Mhm.
I don't know if this is a term I've used before today, but I found myself using it a couple of times in our conversation now. But also in terms of the coaching. But you mentioned about how like so many people wrestle with intimacy, and um, and people a lot of times think of intimacy, just kind of reduce the idea of intimacy to intercourse.
Right.
But there's so much more to it than that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you've kind of alluded to it. I did want to mention, you know, you've got this book that's coming out soon. Um, the title of which has been rolling across the bottom of the screen pretty much since you've been on camera. Um, that really is a profound educational tool of teaching people how to touch with love and
Yes.
to experience a sense of alignment. And
Mhm.
um, I'd like to ask you to share a little bit, if you would, about, because I remember also like around 20 years ago, maybe a little over 20 years ago, you had done this video um, for couples called "Touch Me with Love," teaching
Yes.
couples how to massage each other and everything.
Mhm.
And I was trying to bring in the music for that, but the I couldn't play it, but the file was too big, so I couldn't bring it on. Um, but I would like to ask you to, you know, to kind of share some stuff in terms of intimacy itself being more than just the act of intercourse, and
Mhm.
why why that loving touch is important in
Mhm.
terms of creating genuine authentic intimacy and the like.
Yes. Yes, yes. You're so absolutely right about that importance of understanding that intimacy is not about intercourse. They're two
Mm,
separate words for a reason.
mm,
I
mm,
like there is let's see, I think it was Bishop T.D. Jakes. He used the analogy. He talked about it when you think of intimacy, think see into me.
mm,
Into
mhm,
me see.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that blew my mind. I'm like, okay, so how do you see into a person and what does that have to do with intimacy?
Mm-hmm.
And it really, really was profound because, yes, to be intimate with a person, you do need to see into them as well as them seeing into you. And we're talking not just with the physical eyes, we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about seeing into the spirit of a person,
Yeah.
seeing into the essence of a
Mm-hmm.
person, who they really and truly are. And when you do that, you are able to connect on a level that's far beyond intercourse. That, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, come on now. We know that that has a deep emotional impact on a person when they are engaged in intercourse. But when you're talking about seeing into a person and you're really getting into that heart space and you're feeling them. You know, everybody wants to say, I feel you. I believe
Mm-hmm.
it kind of came from that, our need and our desire to really and truly feel another person. And so
Yeah.
when you're thinking of intimacy, you know, yeah, it's about closeness, but it's about maybe physical closeness and proximity, but it's also a closeness in your connection to who that person truly is, what they're all about, what
Yeah.
their mission and purpose in life is, and you are connected in such a way that you almost know what they're going to talk about before they say it because you know that person. And it takes something to get to that place with any human being because we all have barriers, things that may cause us to not allow intimacy to occur. We talked a little bit about some of the things that may have happened, childhood experiences, bad experiences in relationships that might have had negative or unhealthy touch involved in it. But
Mm-hmm.
if you can break through that, if you can be with a person and understand and be empathetic of what their experience was, how they might be feeling at that time, then you can connect intimately. I
Mm-hmm.
think right now of a relationship with a friend that is, I would say, neurodivergent. I have a
Mm-hmm.
friend that's neurodivergent. And to some people, they, you know, they're going to dismiss you because of your, maybe your actions and how you show up in the world because they don't understand that. But if
Mm-hmm.
you are able to see into that person and you see their heart, you feel their heart, you know that they deserve love and affection just like anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
We are one as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
we are I mean, we are connected whether we see the connection or not. In the spirit, there's only really, you know, one mind. You know, that's the
Mm-hmm.
mind of God. I mean, there's one love. You know, we hear about that in some of the reggae music and stuff. You know, but when we think of that unity that really exists, whether we accept it or not, then you are able to kind of break through some of the barriers and actually connect and touch with a person intimately.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I come from with that. And, you know, I have to tell you that I've worked with individuals who've been married 20, 30 years
Mm-hmm.
and they have disconnected. They may
Mm-hmm.
even live in the same house. They probably live in separate rooms because they've, you know, really kind of come apart that much. And I've had people like that come into my sessions or in a retreat. And before they left, they were unable to separate from each other because they spent
Mm-hmm.
time
Yeah.
breaking through the barriers and reconnecting. I've had people come and tell me how, you know, we were on our way to divorce court
Mm-hmm.
and now we're not going to get a divorce because we were able to break through the barriers and become close again. And so it's real important, especially if you are in a coupled relationship, in order to stay connected and be happy. you're going to need to be able to break through barriers and connect regardless of the situation or the
Right.
problems you've been facing.
And you know what? I'm glad that you said that, because I know you're talking about people who are already in relationships, right? Um, there's some people who are in relationships, and there's some people who are happy in the relationships. There's some people who just aren't. You just kind of spoke to that a little bit. There are
Mm-hmm.
people who aren't in relationships and who want to be,
Right.
right? And to me, I think a real key thing, um, that we understand is, like, a lot of times people are having problems in relationships, from my perspective, because there is a lot of selfishness.
Mm.
They're concerned with what good will come to them and try to get the most while giving the least,
Yes.
right? And as you're talking about intimacy, what intimacy really is, being able to see yourself in another, to be able to see that other in yourself, that's what kind of bridges some level of connection, just in that alone. Realizing it's not all about me, right? I heard an old preacher say, you can't make somebody a peanut butter sandwich without getting a taste for yourself, because any good that you're doing, that good is gonna make its way back to you, especially if the good that you're doing isn't with the thought of, I'm doing this in order to get something, but I'm doing this because love is motivating me to do this.
Yes.
I'm doing
Yes.
this because love is inspiring me to do this, because I I love this. And I don't even recall where I heard it, but it was a teaching moment that was talking about the difference of love and like. And like this person was asking, a young person was asking a little older, a little wiser person, like, what's the difference between liking somebody and loving somebody? And they used, to illustrate this nuance between like and love, as a flower. They use the illustration of a flower. And they say, when you like a flower, you pick it, right? You pick
Mm-hmm.
it so you can take it home and look at it and enjoy it. When you love the flower, you water it, right? Big
Love
thing.
it.
When
I
when you
love it.
when you when you like it, you're focused on, it's a me focused thing. You're focused on, what benefit are you going to bring me, even if it's painful to you.
Right.
But when you love it, your focus is on, how can I contribute to you being your best self and you truly thriving, right? And so, you've got this book, uh, that's coming up, Touch Me with Love, Intimate Alignment for Couples Through Touch and Yoga. And so I got to say this real quickly, because it blew me away in 2002 or so, when it happened, and I've never forgotten it, and I never will forget it. Um, and we've talked about this since then. We talked about it recently. Something I'll never forget is, there was a lady she wasn't even conscious. I don't know. I don't know if I even knew then or not, if she was like in home hospice or what, but I knew that she wasn't conscious. She was there. Her daughter was her caretaker. Um, and you were going, to give a massage to this lady who was, not in a good way in terms of her health,
Mhm.
essentially, on her way to leave the planet. And you had invited me to come and do my thing as a healer as well. This was probably before Transcending the Matrix was even developed. And um, and I did my thing and you did your thing. And it was so amazing to me. Um, as I watched you, it was so evident and it was so clear to me that you were pouring so much love into this lady as you were massaging her. And it's not like you were massaging her like giving her a sweetest massage or a hot stone massage. It was more about the way that you were touching her with love and
Mhm.
pouring. It was so clear to me and so profound to me because
Mhm.
it was like I could see the love, your heart full of love, and that
Mhm.
love pouring down your arms through your hands and into this lady
Right.
who was unconscious, right? I'm sure on some level, her soul was aware of what it
Mhm.
was that was happening, but that was so deeply profound to me. And so, in terms of, I'm taking that, the memory of that, and putting in the context of this book that you've now
Mhm.
written, Touch Me with Love, in alignment for couples through touch and yoga.
Mhm.
And like there are all kinds of places that my mind is going in terms of what's possible
Mhm.
when you're sharing loving touch with a partner and you're aware of how to do it. You've got some tools and some knowledge and a boatload of training in your tool belt that allows you to be able to educate people on this. And I want to ask you, Versandra, as far as people in relationship with one another, and we'll talk some about, because not everybody's in a relationship, but for those who are in a relationship, um, you've written this book, and there's several chapters in the book, and not every chapter is about the physical touch itself.
Right.
Some of them are dealing with breath. Some of them are dealing with intention, of things that are actually kind of preceding the touch and
Right.
going on in conjunction with the touch. And
Mhm.
can you talk to us a little bit about that, son?
Yes, yes. And I think about that, and I think about that very first session that we did at Northwest Activity Center when I was filming Touch Me
Mm,
with Love, that video guide for couples. And I must say that the process does begin with you,
mhm,
because the very first relationship that anybody has is the one with themselves.
mhm,
So you do have to be clear with yourself what it is that you're about to do. What are you about to engage in? Are you a vessel that can share or transfer love energy? Have you prepared your vessel to be that? I don't want to get
mm,
all into the Bible, but there's even some scripture about, old wine and I mean new wine and old skin, those type of things.
mm,
But we have to be aware that we are transferring energy constantly because we are energetic beings. And when I think of energy, I think of God, I think of love, because there's really only one. Anyway, I don't want to get into all that, but I guess I am in the right space to talk
you
about
are in
that.
absolutely the right space to be talking about that. That's what we talk about here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that is a level of awareness or consciousness that one must have, because once you prepare your vessel, once you share this love energy, then you know that there's going to be an outcome that's going to be positive because you know the intention that went into it. So setting the tone, preparing the room, preparing the space, the lighting, the sound, sometimes you can be in a place that has lots of distractions that could keep your mind away from what it is you're preparing to do. So you want to think about those type of things. I talk about setting the space, the intention, And I talk about the fact that, say for instance, you personally are feeling unloved, or you're feeling like there's something missing from you, then that's something that you're going to transfer into your partner. So it's almost imperative that you take some time. And when I say set the intention, you might even want to say a prayer. You might want to speak words of affirmation before you touch your partner, stating what it is that you desire to transpire during this interaction. You know, if you want your partner to feel energized and feel loved and relaxed and stress free, you might want to say those things quietly to yourself before you even place your hands on your partner, because when you do that, that's exactly what you're going to be sharing with your partner. So that's very important. But
So,
all
what I
distractions,
heard
those
you
cell
kind of,
phones,
uh,
yes.
I was going to say, what I kind of heard you saying in essence was you were talking about the value and the importance of preparing the soil.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If we think
Yes.
of a relationship as like a garden,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Yes.
there's seeds that you're going to plant. You want the soil to be such that it's receptive to what it is that you're planting.
Right.
Okay, in this case, you're planting seeds of love through the touch. But
Yes.
in order to do that, before you plant those seeds, the soil has to be ready to receive that seed. And so what I heard you saying is that the way you begin to prepare that soil is through the intention that you're setting within yourself,
Mm-hmm.
that you're becoming present to this person that you're wanting to pour some love into through your touch, are that ultimately you're wanting to have some genuine, um, you want to have it, we're going right now on the assumption of those
Mm-hmm.
who are in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You want, like, nobody gets in a relationship for the relationship to sour or to be dull or boring. Everybody who's wants to be in a relationship wants that relationship to thrive. Everybody who's nobody's goes into a relationship saying, I hope this doesn't work out. You know, we have we're hardwired to give and receive love, right?
Mm-hmm.
And humans, mammals, period, are different than reptiles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a part of our brain, we're because the baby has to suck from the mother,
Mm-hmm.
and in that process, there's oxytocin that's being released, creating that sense of connection that you talked about. And so we're all hardwired for that sense of connection in ways that snakes are not, right? In ways that alligators and crocodiles are not. Um, there's this innate need, to have that sense of connection,
Mm-hmm.
and there's this innate need to love and to be loved. And I believe the more we are present to love itself, the more it heals the whole planet. That's
Yes.
something I'm very much about. I know that's something that you're very
Yes.
much about. You went on a whole campaign to rid the world of touch deprivation.
How dare I? I'm like, what in the world is going on with me? Here I am pulling people together from Canada, from Guam, all over the United States. I set up this online petition.
Mm,
Literally, I saw in the news at that particular time, it was very prevalent that in the
mm,
schools, they were separating children and telling them they had to be 6 feet apart, even before the pandemic. This was 2003, 2004. This
Mm,
is all the things that were going on in the South. And then specifically, even in Virginia, there was a
mm,
case where a child was expelled from school from putting their hand. This child was like 7, 8, 9 years old, very like elementary, putting their hands on a friend's shoulder and saying it's going to be okay because the child had lost their pet. The
mm,
child was consoling them, it's going to be okay, and because they were crying, and the child got expelled from school because they touched another child to console them.
mm.
It blew my mind when I was looking at how people are so fearful of connection, because fear can take hold there, but we're talking about adults being so fearful that they
Mm.
didn't want children to touch each other. So
And
that was
in a
what's
completely healthy, appropriate way.
yes,
It's
yes,
understandable that you don't want somebody hitting some other child or touching
mhm,
them in any other inappropriate way.
right,
But this
right.
is a completely supportive, appropriate way that this was
Right.
taking place in this moment that you're sharing
And
about.
that's exactly why in the campaign, the goal was to teach what healthy touch was. I
Mm,
created this chart that had the body and where you could show the areas. If it's below the neckline, you're not supposed to be touching this area, and down to the waist and below. There's certain areas you should not be touching another person,
mm,
period, unless you are in a intimate relationship, or you are coupled up with that. And even then, it shouldn't be done unless the other person has given you permission.
mhm,
That is another key thing. You don't want to touch people when they are not okay with that. And they
right,
don't, you don't have to say out loud with words, is it okay for me to touch you? As a professional, I do that. But
mm,
you don't have to do that always. You can literally walk toward a person to give them a hug. And if that person steps backward,
mhm,
and they have some type of challenge there. They are adverse to what you're doing right then. So you're
mm,
supposed to
mm,
step back too, because that means that person is not welcoming you coming close to them.
right,
Personal space is important.
mm,
But there
mm,
was so much that was going on. And so I really wanted to do something about it. And in that process, people put their comments in the petition, and they talked about their personal problems and their children and things that had happened that they had seen or experienced related to this issue. And they were talking about, why is it, how is it possible that people in schools are telling children not to touch, as opposed to teaching what appropriate touch is? So yeah, that
mm,
was a big deal. And I don't know, I guess it was just the Spirit of God moving through me and saying this is the time to do this. But yeah, that was in the early 20s, 2023, 2024. And it was something that touched a lot of people, and they were engaged in the process. And here we are, years later, and I'm seeing in the news, and I'm watching in reports and things about our Surgeon General, who just went out of office, but he served probably 1, 2, 3, I think 3 or 4 terms, because he did serve with President Obama, and it came back with our previous President Biden as the Surgeon General. And this term, these past 2 terms, his thing was all about this issue of connection in society today, and that it is a health crisis. It
Now,
is
this wasn't a
not just,
psychologist talking.
oh no, this is not a
This was the Surgeon
psychologist,
General.
a medical doctor.
Yes. Mhm. I
Uh,
just wanted to lift that up and elevate that.
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
he's got several books about this. And even now that he's out of office, he's touring around the world talking about this challenge, because it's such a
Mm,
big deal. But
mm,
you can go online, you can get a book. In my book, I actually list his books as a reference. But in it, if you're a person that needs all the science behind it, that's where you need to go. If you just want to hear, like I'm just doing a brief guide, something that you can use as a handbook, you can actually get in, do some practice, and have the basic information. But if you're a scientist, or if you need that science, get it from our Surgeon General, our past Surgeon General, because he did all the research and put it into a book. And it's really going into the physiological effects, how our immunity is impacted, how people are getting sick. They are isolating, depression, anxiety, violent behavior. All of those things are happening as a result of the disconnection and inability to be intimate with another human being. And we talked before the show came on about those individuals who are not booed up. I like how you said that, Royce. But I was that person too, even during this process of learning all about it. So I actually thank God for my life experiences, because it's one thing to read something and recite it. There's something totally different to experience it and know for a fact that a certain thing is true. But I was that single person for a good while that did not have a partner to touch me. And I had to learn that self-touch, and this is about self-care to me. It's about self-care. So I started thinking about my time in the bath, your time in the shower. If you are a single person, those are times when you can touch yourself, and you can be intentional about your own touch to yourself. And I also, I started talking to people about some of the things that cause them to not even take the time to put lotion on their own bodies, And I heard so many stories. I heard people talk about religious practices and beliefs and how that could turn them on. And if they did that, it would be a sin before God. I heard things that blew my mind.
This is just putting lotion on?
Yes. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
They were like, this person told me that's like masturbation. How can you touch yourself without turning yourself on? And that's just a sin. I'm like, oh, this is very, very deep. And I had no clue, but I do know for a fact that I had experienced feeling that way, not to that degree, but feeling like, I wonder if this would be considered, anyway. But there are a lot of things that, are causing people to think weird things. But I want to give singles permission to put lotion, oil on your own body. Use that time to anoint yourself with oil,
Say that one more time. I like that.
Use that time to anoint yourself with oil. Take some, I like to take essential oils and mix it in with the practice. And, you can put some sandalwood and myrrh, just think about what the people brought to the baby Jesus and gave it to him as gifts. It's so precious, but it's not just precious in value like it was there. It had great value, but it is also valuable to your skin. It goes into your skin, because what goes on your skin goes in your skin, whether you believe it or not. And instead of using some of these things that are toxic and we're placing them on our body, you can take something that's healthy, that has health benefits, healing properties, and that can make your body better. So I like sharing that with individuals, that self-touch is a healthy thing, but it's all about intention. And use it for your spiritual practice, use it for however it works for you, but get that touch in. And if you believe in the law of attraction, let me just say this. What you do for yourself, you are really teaching others how to show you love and affection. So if you have practiced caring for yourself in a healthy way, then you can attract that from the lover that you are seeking. But if you
Mhm.
don't love on yourself, then how do you expect someone else to come in and fill a void that you have never explored? You don't even know what makes you feel good. So
Mhm.
it's really important in that way too, as you think about attracting what you desire as far as your partner's concerned.
As you shared that, I thought about, and this is my first time thinking about it. I thought about it a couple of times during this conversation. There's a movie, I feel like it came out maybe 1997, 1999, around that time, called Bliss.
Mm,
And a powerful movie, really powerful movie. And in this particular situation, with this movie, there was a couple, and there were some challenges in their relationship. There were some deep-seated issues with one of the
mm,
partners, um, and one of the people in this couple saw that there were these deep-seated issues with their partner, and they wanted to play a healing role in
mm,
their partner's life. And so they went to study and learn some things. And what the person who was teaching them was working with that person, getting them to understand is that um, the real thing that you need to be focused on is really getting some things right within yourself
mm.
and your own healing. You
Yeah.
need to understand what it is that also feels good to you. Be present to that, to what feels
Mhm.
good and what feels right to you, to get comfortable and in touch with your own body. The fact of the matter is that not all of us like what we see when we look in the mirror
Mhm.
necessarily. We
Yeah.
haven't learned the art of unconditional self love.
Yes.
We remember times when we were perhaps earlier in life when things stood up and sat up differently. Uh, you know, we remember what was like before there were lines in different places, and um, and we might even have some self judgment uh,
Mhm.
because we're comparing the 40, 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old version of the body that we're carrying around to what it looked like when we were 20 or when we were in our 20s or maybe even 30s. And and we don't necessarily um, remember the importance of that deep self-love in order
Mhm.
to be able to experience that in connection with another soul.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like I'm going down a little rabbit hole as far as that's concerned, but our whole topic today is dealing with, this idea of touching one with love or being touched with love. And um, the essence of touching somebody with love is being present to the love in the first place, right?
Yes.
Um, but you've got Versandra, this book, Touch Me with Love,
Mhm.
Intimate Alignment for Couples Through Touch and Yoga. This book has not even been released yet, right?
Nope.
So you've got a book launch that's coming up soon.
Yes, on
Talk to me
Friday. Woohoo!
now, what is Friday? This coming Friday? What day is that?
Valentine's Day. A day for lovers, they say on the calendar.
Yes. And I am looking forward to being with mine on Valentine's Day.
Yes. Yes, yes.
um, so you've got this book launch that is
Mhm,
this coming Friday,
mhm.
Valentine's Day. And where's that going to be?
There's a place called Collaboration Station in Uptown Columbus, Georgia. It's
Mhm.
about an hour and a half outside of Atlanta. If you happen to be in that area, maybe about an hour and a half from Montgomery, Alabama. But and listen, about an hour and a half from the busiest airport in the world, which is in Atlanta. So if you are hearing something that is really resonating with you and you feel like you need to be present, you are just a flight or a drive away. Collaboration Station is right. This uptown area is kind of like the, downtown of most cities, and it's really a beautiful eclectic venue. It's actually the home of my office, but it is also the shared office space. And I mean, we've got swings and all kinds of things in there that make it a fun, cool place to hang out. But there I will be highlighting the artist, because this book is going to be filled with about 20 select images that have been captured from the many classes, workshops, retreats that I've had. And I've had a great photographer, and he is D Sold Photo Artistry. He's going to be there present. And I really want to share his experience, because when he came to my first retreat and did the photo shoot, he had no clue what this was all about. And he was so touched and inspired by the work that he came back 3 times. And then next thing I know, I saw him doing other photographic images of this whole touch thing, and really talking about how he didn't know, he was totally unaware of the effects, the positive or negative effects of the lack of touch. And now he's on a mission to try to share this whole message of connection and touching with love. And so he'll be present. My publisher, she'll be present as well. We've got couples and singles alike. We've got food and dancing. We're calling it a lover's rock, because it's about the music. Y'all know the song "You Are the Lover's Rock" by Sade. It's kind of little.
Yeah, that's what I thought of immediately.
Yeah. So we've got.
And I'm telling you, for anybody who's thinking about possibly making it, Versandra knows how to put on a program. Let me tell you, she knows how to put on a program, and definitely tend to multiple of your senses.
Yes,
in the process of that, I can tell you that for sure.
Absolutely.
Now, hopefully, some of our people will be able to make it to that in person. But for those who can't be there in person, how can people get and I'm going to pull it up on the screen again. I know it's scrolling, but I want to pull it up where people can see it clearly. Touch Me with Love, Intimate Alignment for Couples Through Touch and Yoga by Versandra Kennebrew. How can people get access to the book if they're not at the book signing itself?
Okay. Yeah, you can go to my main website, which is theoptimalplan.com. Theoptimalplan.com. That is where you can click and get your flip book. You can get it in the flip book version, because it is multimedia and it has videos. It's got links to videos, links to some of my television shows. I'll probably even put this in here now, since we have this wonderful interview. We can add this, but I wanted to have, because I host a TV show. Some of you may not know that, but it's called Optimal Living Starts Here. And so there were several times when the art of touch was featured, even with a music practitioner playing the bongs and the various instruments, the chimes and everything in the background. Oh, it was so sweet. But I've added some of those things to this book because technology allows us to do so these days. So if you order the flip book, you'll be able to kind of click and go right into some of those things. And then also you can get it in the soft cover, which will be made available on Amazon.com. And my publisher is telling me it's going to be available anywhere where books are available. So I'm going to accept that as being the truth. So after Friday, you should be able to just Google it and just click or go to the website. I prefer you if possible, to go to my website, because that way I benefit most from the sale. But
Yeah.
hey, I'm totally understanding that we have many, many Amazon people that choose to do it that way. So that's also a great option.
Yeah. And, something that I want to point out, this is in the context of it being Valentine's Day. And a lot of times we think about Valentine's Day as a surface thing in terms of love.
Mhm.
You think of like maybe if you are in a relationship, going to dinner or something, um, maybe an exchange of some gifts of some sort, flowers, things of that nature. But um, this is a gift, not simply to another person, but a gift to the relationship, right? A gift uh, that the people in this partnership can uh, continue to give to one another through the things that you're sharing. You have, I meant to mention this earlier. You were talking about the Surgeon General and everything. You have a section that's dealing with the science of touch. You have portions where you're talking about the breath and touch, about
Yes.
the different types of touch and their benefits. You're talking about
Mhm.
um, all sorts of things, the role of vulnerability and exercises to enhance emotional connection.
Yes.
And so, there are just a number of things that you're dealing with that's good, that's cool to be able to have in a printed form where you can read, but then you've got all of these other things, all of these digital things on top of it as well, because let's face it, that's the world we live in
Right.
today. And I think it's wonderful that you've got all these other ways that people um, can kind of tap into your knowledge base
Mhm.
that you've developed over decades, that
Mhm.
you've been utilizing in your practices and in your, as a practitioner and as an educator.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I'm glad for everybody who's able to partake of that. I dropped links to your webpage on YouTube, a link to the webpage, as well as a link to the short video that you have, uh, kind of uh, advertises and lets people know about the actual book launch event.
Mhm.
Um, those will disappear ish after the live ends. But what I'll do is I'll repost them in the comments. I'll also include those links in the description of the video, and I'll put those links in the YouTube as we're broadcasting both on YouTube and, excuse me, on Facebook, as we're broadcasting both on Facebook and on YouTube. I'm not able to, from the third party service we have, post the comments directly to Facebook, and I want to be present to our conversation. So
Right.
I'll go back after we're done and put a link as well or
Mhm.
they'll post those links in the comments
Okay.
for this live broadcast. So, Versandra, as we get ready to close, what's maybe some pearl or some gem that you'd like everybody to take away with them?
Well, first of all, Royce, I want to thank you for agreeing to write the foreword to this book. That was such a joy to me to hear you say yes. And I asked you because you are so aware of my history and what has transpired over all of these years. And I know that whatever you share is going to be amazing. So I thank you for that in advance. And I just want to maybe close out with a poem that I wrote. I didn't know it was a poem at the time, but it was during a time when I was really in a dark place and I was asking, who am I? That comes up a lot whenever you're confused. I mean, when you're looking at things happening in the world today, it's easy
Mm-hmm.
to get off your square and you question, who are you? And
Mhm.
so this is the answer that I received during the darkest days of my life. And I want to leave this with your viewers, because I hope that it will touch you in the way that it touches me every time I say it. And it's called I Am Love. And it says, I am the quintessence of the divine, most perfect of all creation, with power to produce at will seeds that multiply like ripples in an ocean. The personification of I am, beautiful, radiant, absolute, and undeniable. I am love. And so when I consider that I am love, I am the quintessence of God, then you can easily transfer that energy to another who may have forgotten who they are. And I'm going to tell you that that word is really important, forgotten, because
Mhm.
it's not that they're not loved. They're
Mhm.
just, maybe they got amnesia and they're walking around and they're, thinking there's something else because of their environment or just whatever else is going on. But you have to recognize that if you believe you were made in the image and likeness of God, then you are the embodiment of love. And to share that love is to share God. And it's a wonderful thing. The world would be so much
Mhm.
more amazing if we just tap into that truth that we are love.
Yeah, and as you said that, it made me think about something from A Course in Miracles, and it says that the course doesn't aim to teach what love is. What its goal is to remove the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. Isn't that
Yes.
beautiful?
Yes. Yes. I
Release,
love A
release
Course in
the to eliminate the stuff that's blinded us from the fact that love is there and that it is
Miracles.
present, and to be able
Yes.
to have that be revealed. Anyway, thank you so much, Versandra, for joining
Thank
us
you,
today.
Royce.
I'm really looking forward to uh, having this wonderful book as, and let me put it back on the screen again as well. Um, I look forward to having this as part of my toolkit. Thank you so much for the commitment that you've had in terms of growing your own awareness,
Yes. Thank
and
you.
um, not keeping it to yourself, but sharing it with others for the good of everyone who chooses to eat this good food that you cooked up. So,
Yes.
yeah, and I'm very thankful for you taking the time to join us and to share, and am thankful for everything that everybody uh, who tunes in, and for those who are able to make it to the book launch, for those who aren't able to physically be there and
Yes.
can actually get a hold of it. Greetings, Melissa Kelly. Uh, I know it's going to be a blessing to a lot of people, and
Yes.
I'm thankful for all of those who choose to tap into love more fully and to in their own
Yes.
lives remove the blockages to the awareness of love's presence, and to use the healing power of touch to touch with love and
Mhm.
experience that intimate alignment.
Yes.
All right. Well, that wraps us up for today. Thank you again, Versandra. And uh, that concludes our Sunday Hope and Healing session for today. I do want to offer the reminder that we've got a couple Transcending the Matrix classes coming up. The level 1 class coming up the 21st through the 23rd of this month. That's in 2 weeks. And the 22nd and 23rd of March, we'll be having the intermediate class on mental and emotional healing, neurological upgrading, and brain optimization. Anyway, and I forgot to bring the whatchamajiggy back up. There we are. um, as we continue to endeavor to enter into the sustainable state of supreme satisfaction. Until we meet again, beloved, I bid you adieu with peace and love. Catch you next time.